Hey guys, welcome back to Trek on the Tube and welcome back to another Star Trek Races. I gotta admit, I don't have that much time to make very long videos at the moment, but I still wanted to keep some content coming, so I thought, why not make a video about a race that I find very intriguing, although we know nearly nothing about them, the Tholians. A race that Chris, the Trek collector, was convinced would play a major part in Discovery, and I gotta hand it to him. Although he wasn't exactly right, he wasn't exactly wrong either. So the Tholians, first introduced as far back as the original series, they've never really had a lot of screen time, but they do get name dropped in basically every TV show and some of the movies, so we might know more about them than you'd think. For starters, Tholians are a non-humanoid species. They look more like insects, arachnids, or some sort of crustacean. Sporting an exoskeleton, 6 legs and 2 arms, and being hermaphrodites, they're honestly as alien as you can get. I mean seriously, their biology requires them to live in temperatures of around 200 degrees Celsius. And Tholian silk is a thing. I don't know why they'd need it, nor how they'd make it, but it's a thing. I'm assuming it's kind of like how spiders spin their webs. Anyway, the first time we see them, we only really see their face, but years later when Enterprise brings them back, we get some full body shots and a few scenes of them moving around. As you can see, advancement in visual effects really helped their credibility, but in terms of design, they're almost identical. Enterprise did a really good job modernizing them without changing them. Fun fact, the original series episode at the time was nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Visual Effects, so it's only fitting that Enterprise would follow in those footsteps and innovate by using motion capture technology to bring the new Tholians to life. Known to be very punctual, precise, and highly xenophobic, Tholians aren't exactly what one would call friendly. Of course, it's safe to assume not every representative of this species is the same, but Deep Space Nine often mentions them taking part in shady trade deals or even as being thieves. And those are just civilians. On the political side of things, the Tholian Assembly, the governing body, was not only in continuous conflict with Starfleet for hundreds of years, but they also had a tendency to annex neighboring systems, just to better isolate their inner territory. And then, when the Dominion attacked, which were a huge threat for the entire quadrant, they signed a non-aggression pact allowing them to remain neutral throughout the full extent of the conflict. I mean, come on, they're assholes.
This is Captain Archer of the Starship.
Jonathan Archer. Please establish communication.
Is there something we can do for you?
We were sent to retrieve the vessel.
I'd like to know how you heard about that ship.
It is dangerous to you. Temporal radiation.
Tholians communicate through a series of clicks and chirps we hear for the first time in Enterprise. Everything the Tholians say is translated to English, but it's not made very clear as to whether it's the Starfleet Universal Translator doing the job, or if it's the Tholians and they have their own tech. In any case, years later in the original series we no longer hear the clicking and chirping, so translation has clearly become easier over time. Regarding their technology, not only is it at least as advanced as Starfleet's, but the Tholians also have some pretty unique weapons, the most famous being the Tholian web, a sort of arrangement of yellow energy beams meant to trap enemies inside. I'm not sure it's the best way to capture someone, but goddamn does it look cool. Their ships are built for one person and are essentially small arrowheads. This is what they look like in the original series when it was first released. I know it doesn't look like much, but keep in mind, Emmy for Outstanding Visual Effects. It was the 60s. I say when it was first released because when the original series was remastered, the ship design was updated to look like this. This updated version was made not only to resemble the original, but also the ships featured in Enterprise. I don't quite know what to think of this redesign, but then again, I'm not exactly a fan of the original series remastered in the first place, so I might not be the most qualified to judge it. Okay, well, that's about it. All the information I talked about today is from both the Prime Timeline and the Mirror Universe. The Kelvin Timeline hasn't yet shown us any Tholians, though I do think it would be absolutely awesome to see Andy Serkis do some motion capture for a Tholian in a movie. I suppose the only thing left to talk about is what I mentioned when this video began, their contribution to Discovery. Granted, it isn't anything major, but it's explained that the Tholians from the Mirror Universe featured in Enterprise were the ones that caused the disappearance of the USS Defiant featured in the original series. And that ship, being dragged not only into a new timeline but also into the past, is the reason why the Terran Empire grew to become so powerful. That ship, the USS Defiant, was shown on a display in Discovery. That ship, and essentially the Tholians, are the reason Emperor Georgiou came to be. Granted, it is a stretch, but to some certain extent, if you think about it, the Tholians did play a part in Discovery Season 1, and who knows, maybe we'll actually get to see them someday. Okay, there you go. I hope now you got a better idea who the Tholians are, and tell me, what do you guys think of them? Do you like them? Do you dislike them? Would you want to see them again? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I do have other videos in the works, and I know there's some big Star Trek news to talk about. I'm doing my best, and I thank you so much for your patience. Remember to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I always like that, and most of all, live long and prosper.